with the Miami Dolphins leading the way, making a change that a lot of people didn't see coming, moving on from Brian Flores, the head coach. Ryan Pace has had the opportunity to hire other head coaches and get it right, and the Bears felt like they didn't want to give him that opportunity again. Matt Nagy, no surprise there. Everybody in Chicago was expecting it. Zero surprise that Mike Zimmer, after 8 seasons in Minnesota, was let go. Obviously, it was a situation where most people felt like the time had come to move on from him. The surprise in Minnesota was that the Vikings moved on from their general manager, Rick Spielman, a longtime respected member of that organization.
I'm not surprised about what the Pittsburgh Steelers done. Obviously, you're surprised about the things that happened to the other teams that allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers to get in, right? But when you look at this team, you were able to beat the Ravens twice coming down the stretch. You beat the Tennessee Titans in a game you truly should not have won, and you beat the Cleveland Browns. Like, this was the team that found ways to win football games, quite frankly, that they weren't supposed to. Like, this is kind of a microcosm of what Mike Tomlin has been as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that they're going to grind and find a way to win football games that we don't believe they should. You can think back to a few years ago when you had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph as the quarterbacks, and this team found a way to finish at 500.
Are you shocked the Steelers got in?
I just told you I'm not shocked by what they did. I am shocked that Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts were so trash
that they even had
that they went down to Jacksonville and lost. Dan, I'm not supposed to be working today. If Stephen A was able to come into work, I was supposed to take off because I bet my Monday job on the Indianapolis Colts.
I wish you didn't come.
You know what?
I wish you weren't here.
You know what you should have wished? That Carson Wentz didn't go.
Geez.
That's what you should have wished.
Yes, Carson Wentz is the reason, is the blame for why the Colts lost. But this loss falls.
Yes.
Are you going to give me a hug? We're having a moment? All right.
Hey, bro. I need you. I need you.
This is therapy, you guys.
This is a disrespect hug. This is like, I told you hug.
I know, we go from the Steelers to the Colts.
No, you know what?
This is a growth moment.
You've made nothing but excuses for Matthew Stafford. It's always, well, he threw the pick because it could be a punt, or this ball was tipped. Let's go through Titans, 49ers, Packers. Matthew Stafford did not play good. Seahawks, Vikings, Ravens, 49ers. Matthew Stafford did not play good. In the last 4 games, there is not a game that you can look at and say that Matthew Stafford played an entire football game of 4 quarters at a high level. Matthew Stafford has not played well down the stretch of the season. Matthew Stafford has not made us believe in his current play. And now we're going to talk about Detroit, and we're going to look at his 0-3 record in the playoffs, and we're going to say what we've always said about Matthew Stafford. If he had better people around him, he would have won playoff games. I do not care. When I watch Matthew Stafford play right now, I don't see the consistency I need to see for 4 quarters. I see the talent. I see the flashes you've mentioned, but I don't see a quarterback that we can depend on. And Sean McVay's face when Matthew Stafford is walking off the field many times also displays that. If Joe Burrow was playing the way that Matthew Stafford was playing right now, I would also say, you know what, I don't believe in Joe Burrow. Here's the other thing. One of these guys has been in the league a decade plus. The other one's only been in it 2.
I have always, from the jump, come on and talked about the reasons why quarterbacks do things. Maybe their play is good. Here's a reason why. Play is bad. It's not an excuse. There's reasons. There's reasons why these interceptions are happening. I do not believe that all interceptions are the same, and I don't think that we should see them.
All about Stetson Bennett. Why? Because in the SEC Championship game, we saw Stetson Bennett struggle, yet in this game, we saw Stetson Bennett shine.
I take nothing away from Georgia. I think Georgia deserved the national championship, but much like Charlie said, the defensive front was reckless. They were getting after him. He started to panic at times to get the football out because he didn't feel comfortable in that situation. Had nothing to do with Bennett. 0. He gets credit. Yes, it's not the 6'5", 215-pound quarterback. There's no question about it. He gets all the credit in the world, like I said at the start. From beginning to end since taking over, he's done a tremendous job. But let's not just turn this into it is the reason they won is because of Stetson Bennett. He made a nice throw or two throughout the course of the game, but when you factor in injuries, as I tried to tell Sam Acho, he won't listen to me, you factor in those injuries, on top of factoring in the injuries, the experience level. They won because of Kirby Smart and that damn defense and those injuries to Alabama.
So now I'm just confused, Key. Now I'm just confused. You were all over the map because you started off by saying, man, I agree with everything Jeff Saturday just said. Jeff Saturday just said they won both and because of one, Stetson Bennett, and also the injuries. That's what Jeff Saturday said. That's what he said. That's exactly what he said.
But I don't agree with that
that's
part.
Number one.
I agree with the injuries in the defense and the offensive line. That part I agree with.
Even though we all said the same thing, Georgia is the better team, it was hard to go against Nick Saban. And I think all of these reasons have made this one of the most significant wins for any school in recent memory. Is he going to go on and be a first-round pick? No. I think he's got a better chance of being a billionaire living off of this moment than I do him ever taking a snap in the NFL.
This team had 2 weeks against the Raiders and against the Jags to get into the playoffs. They were injured, so the first part of the season really was irrelevant for me. They were so banged up. They had COVID issues. They had all kinds of issues going on. They couldn't get their team. Once they got to rolling, I thought, absolutely, this team's going to get in. Very similar to the 49ers. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with. When you have the number 1 pick in the draft is who the Jaguars are selecting. When you're playing that team to get into the playoffs and you don't get into the playoffs, absolutely this is the most disappointing.
There's no doubt he's the most entertaining and electrifying player there is in the league because at 6'1", 6'2", even though they have him probably listed a little bit higher, you know he's realistically 6'1", 6'2", $185. He is fearless and relentless with his ability to attack the rim. And I'm talking about over a 40-inch vertical that can contort his body in the air a variety of different ways and has an uncanny feel and awareness for how to create those shots. Are the Warriors still the team to beat? And this is no disrespect to the defending world champions because we all watched what they did last year, but there's still a major part of people wonder what Brooklyn could have been like if Kevin Durant didn't wear a size 14 as opposed to a 15, right? If James Harden wasn't hindered in that matchup, or if this team had Kyrie when they played, there's a lot of questions around that. Now, I'm not taking anything away from a championship. They won it, fair and square. It was theirs. But when you think about this Warriors team's second best record in the entire league, Draymond Green has been hurt with a calf injury. Klay Thompson coming back. It just feels like this is reminiscent of those reigning championship Warrior teams with the way they play.
Do you believe the 2017 Warriors could beat the 1996 Bulls?
Yeah. I think that the 2016-2017 Golden State Warriors is the best basketball team ever assembled. Now, I have some things for you just to kind of break it down, guys, because, you know, they won 67 games. Now, Kevin Durant missed 20 games that season. 20 games that season, and this team won 67 games. So I think there's a delineation between, hey, GOAT season, because I have to give that to the Bulls because they won 6 or 7 more games, right, as opposed to GOAT team. The question is, who's going to guard Stephen Curry? The talent that was on the floor for this Golden State team is 2 of the best shooters we've ever seen to play the game of basketball. Combined with one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient scorer, who's a 7-footer in the game of basketball, with a defensive prowess like Andre Iguodala, and then a guy like Draymond Green, who is defensively aware and the basketball IQ is off the charts, and the continuity and the style in which they play. I think Golden State would win this series in 6, guys.
Eagles traded Carson away to take a chance on a second-round pick who had 4 starts, right? That's basically what they entered, and that's what they entered this season. That's what they entered into the season with. And guess who's in the playoffs and who's not? That second-round pick. The Eagles are in the playoffs after giving away Carson Wentz.
Let's say the Nets have the number 1 overall seed. If I'm Joe Tsai, or me personally, if I were the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, I would be willing to take the fine for letting Kyrie Irving play in those 16 games for my team to win a championship. Now, I know that Joe Tsai has been publicly known for stating that he wants everybody to be vaccinated. The first time the player plays, so if Kyrie were to play, they get a slap on the wrist. The second time, it's a $1,000 fine. The third time, it's a $2,000 fine. The fourth time, it's a $5,000 fine from every point moving forward. That would mean if he were to play 16 home games, if every single series were maxed to a 7-game series, Joe Tsai would have to pay $68,000
Nothing.
For Kyrie Irving to be back on the floor to play to win a world championship.
Yes, they are contenders. The reality is that when you have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden on the floor together, they're going to be a little bit behind in that category. But look, I'm giving the Bulls all the credit in the world, right? This team that last year had 31 wins, and they're already on pace to be exponentially better than that. But I still think they're a piece away, Monica. And it makes me start thinking, I'm not willing to give up Patrick Williams. He's hurt, right? But I think he's a bona fide piece for the value that we have him at as being a Bulls fan and somebody, if you're looking at Arturos, who is running the Bulls. But I do look at a guy like Kobe White and say, okay, we have a lot of guards on this team already. Like, could we utilize Kobe White and maybe a draft pick for the likes of a Jeremy Grant?
Deebo Samuel has had a historic NFL season this year. He's the only receiver in history that's had over 1,300 receiving yards and over 300 rushing yards in a season. I mean, that's just phenomenal. This is a guy he's a movable piece. Just like I talked about a little while ago. He's an offensive weapon. Like, Dan, I'm not a big stats guy. I don't get into stats a whole lot. But, I mean, listen, there's a couple things that just jump out to me as far as Deebo Samuel's concerned. This is a guy that's averaging over 10 yards after the catch, meaning he catches the ball and then he gains another 10 yards after that.
I love Kyler Murray. I think he's spectacular. I've loved him since the day he declared to become a football player, not a baseball player. Without DeAndre Hopkins, he has been average, at best, average. This is the biggest game of Matthew Stafford's career. And if he wins, next week will be the biggest game of his career. This is a legacy-changing 4 or 5 week stretch for Matthew Stafford.
I didn't believe in the Bengals at first. I ain't gonna lie. I was like everybody else, like, man, they've been up. Man, they've been down. Will they do it? Can they do it? And they won the division. And then they started balling. And then T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow started balling. Been balling. Who's gonna stop Jamar Chase? Like, straight up, I feel like he's like the Michael Jordan of the NFL. Like, when he can't be stopped. Like, at certain times, he cannot be stopped. That's a bold statement, I get it. But, like, he had 266 yards. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop Tyler Boyd? Who's going to stop Joe Mixon? I think this move makes the Texans look bad. I really do. And I found it for a couple reasons. Let's just address the reasons first. Number one, he outperformed what was expected of him, right? 4 wins at a team that didn't have J.J. Watt, didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, didn't have really a lot of superstar players playing with your third-string quarterback, a rookie who you drafted in the 3rd round, and he outperformed.
If the Dallas Cowboys play to the ceiling of their talent, they're the scariest team to play in the conference. But the reason that we are doubting them, the reason that people think this game is going to be close is because they often have an identity crisis. We don't know which team is going to show up. We don't see that consistency, but we see that with San Francisco. I still have Dallas winning this game.
You can't be the quarterback that turns the ball over 3 times and then be concerned and then have people say, nah, he don't deserve that much blame. Not 3, and 3 ugly turnovers. Like, it's not like he got strip sacked from behind because someone missed a block. Like, he was in the grass and decided that he was going to try to throw the ball away, and it was a fumble, and it's a recurring issue for Carson Wentz. The do too much all-star.
The game continues to keep moving forward, and so we're going to continue to see things we've never seen before. And the eyes are going to get younger and younger. We're not going to be the ones having a conversation about the GOATs. Now it's going to be the younger generation, and they're going to forget about Jordan like we forgot about Kareem. Oh, Dominique, do you agree with Wade's comments?
I mean, I think it makes sense. He's probably right about most people, but he's not right about Jordan, in my view. Jordan's a little different because he brought up Kareem, but he didn't say Bill Russell. We haven't forgotten about Bill Russell because Bill Russell has stayed around. And Jordan seems like one of those players that is going to stay around. Like, he still owns a team. I mean, and all these young eyes, they watched that 10-part series last year, The Last Dance. Those young eyes got to look at that. Those young guys still buy Jordan shoes. So I think that Jordan might be one of those guys like Bill Russell and not like Kareem, that his greatness will stand the test of time and the young guys will respect and appreciate him as much as they ever did.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.